Hey anime fans, you're listening to Hey Anime. I'm your host Brody Otway, and today we'll be talking to Copycat about So I'm a Spider, So What? So, how did you first find this show?
Well, I'm on a few different anime websites, and I've seen some preview of the web novel just before the anime started. And then when I realized it started, I watched it before reading it, and it was just the funniest thing ever. And now I'm in the book, and yeah, keeps up. I think the main one that I used to tell me of upcoming anime is myanimelist.net, I think, and that's the one that always tells me like a few seasons and ahead what's coming out. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've never really done any light novels myself. I tried the audiobook versions of the Shield Hero light novels, and I made it about 11 volumes in before I was like, do I really hate myself enough to keep putting myself through this? Because I was not enjoying the main character of that series at all.
he's particular.
So, what do you think it was about this series that really hooked you in?
So what I like in general, I went into Sawano Spider because it is an isekai anime, and I really love isekai and the comedy and the whole fantasy genre. And the fact that the main character gets into this new world and she's so okay with it and adapts so fast to everything that's going on around her, and then it's a huge comedy factor because you also see other section where other people are not having any trouble at all in the first part of the show. And I think it's a lot of comedy in it. And that's really what I like when I watch all these new like isekai and fantasy shows.
Yeah, I think isekai was a big one for me. I really got into anime more as knowing it as anime through Inuyasha, which was like my first big one where I was like, oh, this is like really different, like from Japan. Like, I don't know. And then they actually acknowledged that it was from Japan. It wasn't like Pokemon and stuff where they completely took out any reference to that. And my real introduction into anime
With
was
the jelly
isekai.
filled donut meme.
Oh yes, and all those
Oh no, I
amazing
loved it.
one-liners. So, why do you think you love isekai so much? Like, what is it about the genre?
I really like anything that's fantasy. Like, I'm a very creative person in my head, so I love to imagine stories and, the
Me too.
typical, like, monsters and adventure. And I think it's mainly the freedom. I love to do road trips all the time. If I could, I would do more. And I think that's probably why I really like to watch Isekai because people in a not so great living environment goes and now they're free from most of their responsibility. And, that's kind of fun to think about.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest. I was not super into this show until towards the end of the season when I started putting together what was actually going on. I don't know if
I
it's
know,
because
right?
I just didn't really gel with the main character. I was way more interested in everything that was going on with the side characters, and I actually loved the concept of the hero archetype being a supporting character, not being the main character. I thought that was super interesting, and it intrigued me off the bat, that part, definitely. But
It is something that is not used a lot in anime, and it was so different than other thing I've watched. Like you have the main character that's part of the villain army, but what's happening is because you're watching each people like kind of different type of their lifestyle. So then at the start of series where you have the adventure getting the egg, and then you realize later it's one of the other characters, and it's like, oh, two different timelines.
yes, it wasn't actually until, well, my first kind of hint that something was off was I actually was thinking negatively of the show because I was like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Why is everybody else a teenager and the spiders just being reincarnated? If they're all from the same class, why are they all reincarnating at different times? I'm like, either this is a weird thing the author hasn't thought about or there's something more to it. And then I don't think it actually fully clicked in my head until the moment where she confronts Julius in front of the
Right.
demon lord
When
there.
Julius was Oh, yeah. And I mean, when you think about it, it kind of makes sense because even Miss Oka, who's an elf, is the same age as the other characters, right? So you're thinking, well, our character just hacks from an egg, and then you have these other guy that you skip to a nice, happy lifestyle at school, and then her struggling to live every second of her life. And doesn't even know how to use magic, type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think the other thing that kind of turned me off was the whole reason I started this show was because everything I was watching was either isekai or shonen. And then it wasn't until I found Vinland Saga and I was like, oh, there's so much more to anime. And then started getting more recommendations from other people. And then it was one thing that had me salty at first, but I ended up not minding by the end was I'm so tired of isekai everything having video game leveling system worlds. I love
Fair
fantasy,
enough.
but that particular trope is starting to get a little old for me personally.
No, I understand. I mean, considering it takes about 2 years for an anime to be produced, and it goes based on light novel that's been produced ages ago. So at the time that those stories were created, video games is that were the popular thing, right? And that's why like we went for a while without it, and now we're having it again just because of the time of production. But yeah, you're right. 90% of isekai that I've seen lately have these stat page on them. That's not a big deal breaker.
I definitely think this series did it a little bit better than a lot of the other ones I've watched. It didn't feel super forced and it felt kind of fun that it was like it wasn't just them really. I don't even know where my train of thought was going with that, but
Well, they gave the status screen like a meaning.
yes. Yes, and with the administrator.
People of that world viewed the status right, they viewed the status screen or the voice from that as like godly beings, and that was very different than other things though.
Yes, I liked that aspect. That was where it started kind of I started easing into it a bit. Like I definitely I don't think it was until the last episode where I was excited for a season 2 of any sort. Once everything clicked in and I seen how like everything was fully fit into place, I was like, okay, I want to see where this goes now. But at first I was definitely
Hmm.
not sold on it.
It's a little bit confusing. I mean, if you're just there for like laughing at first, perfect. In the second half, that's where you get to learn more about like the lore of the world. Like when the main character, White, unlock a level 10 taboo, she has all this knowledge, but like we don't really know about it till like the last episode or so of the anime. So that was kind of interesting. For a moment, I really thought they just, oh, she unlocked taboo and she has this knowledge. And I thought that's where they were going to leave it, to be honest.
That's cool. So, what do you think you're looking forward most out of the next season? Let's get into a little bit more spoilers here. You've read ahead, I'm guessing, from what you said.
I have read ahead. I'm on audiobook 7. I think all the way to audiobook 5 is the first season, and in the light novel book, it's all the way to volume 4. So that was kind of weird to discover. The audiobook doesn't match the light novel that I have, well,
Oh,
lengthwise. But up till this point, the anime has been very on the same line as the light novels. So I was very pleased with that. It's actually been a little bit of a while since I've listened to the audiobook, so I don't really remember what's going to happen, but we're definitely going to see more about the robot's overlord, which is kind of out of the blue for this story.
that moment when robots showed up, I was like, hey, what the hell is going on?
And then you discover that the Demon Queen, she's fighting not the humanness per se, but she's fighting the robot's overlords, right? So you're thinking, oh, well, everyone's supposed to be against Queen Ariel. And I was like, wait, no, she's actually trying to protect the world, and everybody else doesn't know it. So that was kind of interesting. That and because she's kind of fused with White, her personality is so much different than at first. It's kind of funny.
Yes, the whole thing of her becoming that bubbly, fun personality because the spider like ate away at her and shit was very interesting.
Yeah, their conscience fused together. And then I also like to see the difference. Like when you talk about White, in her head, she's like so talkative and she's like everyone's stereotypical otaku, right? And then when she finally is able to get a physical form and talk with people, she just stares at them.
Yeah, yeah,
And I cannot relate more anything with that. She's like,
yeah,
I'm
that was
gonna be able
very
to talk, and
interesting.
she went through so much trouble to have a human form, and then she comes into interact and just like, hello. And that's all she said.
Yeah, I definitely like at first when I seen like the flash to her who she was like in her other life and then she was this loud bubbly personality in the other world, I was kind of like, huh, and then it was along the way where I kind of clicked. I was like, oh, this is who she is inside. She's not able to express herself. And then that was basically confirmed when she has a hat like human figure and yeah, she just doesn't.
Right, and I really like Faye, the dragon girl. She felt so bad because apparently she was a big bully of White, and I was like, oh, I'm probably turned into a monster because I've been a horrible person. But then you have White that was not a horrible person, but apparently, like, the administrator just chose the best body for you, the best species for you. So I don't remember if they mentioned that there was another inhuman character apart from those two characters. Can't remember.
Oh,
But
well,
I know
I'm
there was two that were confirmed dead
yeah.
from Oka. Now, I take that with a grain of salt. Oka is not the most trustworthy person, but then again, her OP ability, she can't tell it or people that are involved in her Klausbuster.
Okay, yeah. She was definitely one of the more interesting characters to me. I'm excited to see where things go with her because she seemed so suspicious. I thought she was going to be just a stereotypical mentor revealed as villain kind of deal, but I was pleasantly surprised that it seems a little bit more complex than that.
Right, well, they're giving her so much personality. Like, you're thinking about it. You're a teacher, you're supposed to take care of children, like she said, and then all of this happened. And you know when they're gonna die and how that's gonna happen. So you're stuck in a position where you have to think, do I do what I think is best for them, even though they may not appreciate it, or do I let them be as they are and let them die, right? So if you're in your conscious, I want to try to bring these people back to Earth or something, like, what would you do? And Miss Oka just chose the path that she thought would be the most practical, well, considering how OP her father was. Even though it's not the best decision, but for her, it was the most convenient at the time. And she's ready to accept the consequences. Like, she knows that they don't like her, and she's not going to make excuses about it.
So, a question I have about it is how did she survive the magic that at the end that was supposed to be like you can't like what happened there?
Oh, I'm having a blank about that. So,
When she comes back out and she hatches out of an egg afterwards.
oh, when they get to the other world? I'm sorry, I haven't seen the anime in a bit. I'm
No problem. It's like towards the end she gets hit with like I think it's the demon lord's magic or something where she's like, "Oh no, you can't like come back from this or whatever. You can't revive from it." And then she comes back out of an egg, I think. Oh, wait, no. I think I'm remembering it wrong. I think I'm literally thinking of the part where it reveals the like full time.
oh, I know when Ariel was fighting White. So that's not at the end, but it happened like somewhere towards the center. What happened is Ariel used a magic that was supposed to annihilate her soul, right? Because she knew that that could be something that could happen. What White did, I guess she split her subconscious. You know how she has like multiple of herself in her head that she talks to, and how she attacked Mother?
Yeah, the other
Well,
brains.
right. So I
Yeah.
think what happened is she laid some eggs and she kind of planted some of other hers in those, and that's how, even though her physical body and all of that should have, theoretically speaking, not being recuperable, she was able to restart, like, whew, I'm alive again type of thing. It's not too well explained how she did that, but I'm assuming it's because she used her parallel mind and one of her egg laying skills.
Okay, yeah. I'm just curious if that means it's not even like, is it even her at that point, or is it just a copy? Like,
A copyright. Well, seeing as we know that the mother can talk to any of the children she's hatched, right? And because it can communicate to each other, she was able to send some copies of herself towards Mother by a telepathy link. So I'm assuming she did something similar, and just before she got obliterated, she sent her mind or her soul to the other. Is what I'm assuming happened. Like, split moment.
I like that headcanon. Yeah, that definitely makes more sense. Because my whole thing, I was like, okay, so if she was able to separate her other brains into the different things, does that mean there could possibly be more of her running around? Is it just the one of her now? Or I was so curious.
Well, we know that there's the children of the nightmare terror that like inhabitates the caves, right? And adventurers are like, oh well, if you don't show them harm, they're just gonna leave you be. And he started talking to the main character, not Julius. Julius, the older brother. Anyways,
Yes.
to the main hero, saying, "Oh, you're the hero. You're gonna know what's gonna happen soon." So they have part of her memory. So I defragmented memory, maybe just enough to keep a link together, maybe. It's not very well explained.
Okay, yeah, I definitely, I don't know. Maybe I'll go back and rewatch sometime and see if I pick up more. I think I missed a lot because I wasn't super invested in the first half. So now that I know where it goes and
Right.
everything like that, I feel like a rewatch would be more appreciated.
Oh, definitely. Like, even what I would personally do is like I work on stuff like I play Minecraft and then I have like long hours where I need to do something. And I often put up anime that I've watched in the past on like my second monitor. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that the first time around, right? And it's in dub as well. It's a very good dub, to be fair. So I can still pay attention very closely.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the dub. The voice acting was really good. I'm usually a dub person, so when the dub's lackluster, it definitely ruins things for me because especially in an action series, like if it's something slower, I definitely
Yeah.
don't mind doing subtitles, but I love to be able to appreciate everything and not have to read things while there's action going on.
Actually, in the anime industry, the dub that's been coming out has been so great, in my personal opinion. Back in the days, I say that like I'm super old, I'm not. Like 10 years ago, dub anime just sounded horrible. But now, a lot of them are, I guess because there's more of a broader popularity of anime and like outside of Japan, that they've been focusing on better dubs. Even like Eminence in Shadow, they chose like the perfect voice actor for that, and it's I think even funnier than the Japanese one.
Yeah, I definitely feel like dubs have gotten a lot better. Like, I can't say all old dubs are bad because I think one of my all-time favorites has to be Yu Yu Hakusho, and that dub is so on point.
Right. Like the old Orin Host Club dub was perfect. Like, don't get me wrong, there's some that are very good back in the days. But there's some like pretty rhythm that are very questionable. Like they chose a newbie as like, hey, voice this character.
So, what would you say is better in your opinion? Did you get more enjoyment out of the light novel audiobooks or the anime?
Ooh, that's a very good question. I really love the anime. Like, I think I would say that I prefer the anime because that's how I started the series. I was about to read it and then I saw that it was going to release, so I didn't want to spoil anything. And it's freaking great. I do like the light novel because I can read farther into what's going to happen. And sometimes I just don't want to be in front of the screen or something like that. And you do get a little bit more details in the light novel, but for so far, the anime has been pretty accurate with it. So I'm kind of a equal standing.
That's awesome. So, who's your favorite character in the whole show? Who stood out to you the most?
Apart from the main character, it has to be Ariel, the demon queen. It's just for the fact that she's also part of the main character, I guess, if you see about it, but I guess she does thing her ways, but then when she kind of merges with the main character, her personality gets kind of goofy, and I personally can relate to that. Like, oh, it's work time, I'm very serious, and then, you know what? Not really, I want to goof around type of a thing. I really like that easygoing attitude she has by the last episode.
Yeah, definitely. She came around to be probably one of my favorites, but I think I'd have to say like the hero there. I cannot even remember his name, which feels bad considering he's my favorite. But he was probably my favorite. I just was very curious on what was going on. The whole hero trope being turned on its head a bit was very refreshing and new to me. And part of me was like, oh, I wish we followed him more. But then I'm like, yeah, but then that ruins the whole thing of what's making it cool.
Shoo, Schlaine.
Yes.
Schlaine is his new name, but they call him Shu.
Yes.
But it's also interesting how like they have one hero and then one demon lord, right? So the
Hmm.
demon lord's downside is the hero, right? So I think that's around the time where I start cluing in that there was two timeline where when the main character got the demon lord title, at the time I hadn't realized that part of her merged with Ariel. So I was very confused as to why we had two demon lord title at some point, but they're technically the same person, so it kind of makes sense, but it also kind of doesn't make sense.
Hmm. Yeah, it was definitely an interesting series. I'm very curious to find out where it goes next. I don't think I'm curious as much as I was with the Shield Hero, where I actually went and listened to the books. I ended up regretting those books. I don't know. They definitely made now Fumi a lot more likable in the
Huh.
television series than he was. He was not a fun character to be in his head for me personally.
I've been thinking about reading that, but I may hold on that one now.
He's just very angry, negative person, and it's like grating after a while because like it gets to a point where like every book he starts with basically the same monologue but slightly
Oh.
different, where like he basically kills all of his character progression from the previous book each time he says the monologue, and they kind of
Ooh.
half reset him to being a untrusting dick every book
I mean, they're
despite
kind of doing that.
constantly being proven.
Yeah. They're kind of doing that with the other three heroes in the anime. Like, every time that you see them, the kind of whatever progress of them getting along just kind of like vanishes.
That's
That's kind
definitely
of
in the
something that's
books
always
too.
baffled me.
Yeah, that's
Really?
definitely a
Wow.
big thing in the books, and he even like says the same insults about each character every time he encounters them. And so it gets super
Oh, God.
repetitive and you're like, "Okay, this guy would be the most painful person to hang out with in real life because he's just going in circles." Like, I don't know. I dropped off around like volume 11 to 13 maybe. I was like, why am I doing this to myself? It was my gym listen for a while, and then I was like, I'm gonna just go listen to some Stormlight Archive audiobooks.
The manga didn't seem that bad. I read until just past where the anime currently is, and I kind of fell off in the story lore after where the current arc is. Ooh, but just going back to Sawano Spider, I think
Yes.
apart from like Ariel being like my favorite character, I think my second favorite character, and you don't see him very often in the anime, but it's her right hand, like her right hand, and then or I guess the assistant in the story, because every time Ariel's about to do something, you can just hear in the light novel they talk about his monologue about how absurd everything is. It's so funny.
Yeah, no, they just cut it out of the anime? Like, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't think they showed it in the anime, but there's like two, three monologues. I was like, well, here's the demon queen again. Of course she's gonna do that. Who else would fight a goddamn earth dragon?
That's pretty funny. I enjoyed the humor. Once I appreciated the series more for what it was, I went in with different expectations, I guess. I don't know. I really didn't know what I was expecting, but I was like, okay, I
Mhm.
know it's an isekai. What tropes that I burned out on are going to grate on me? And I think the only trope that really irked me in any shape, way, or form was the leveling thing, and I got over that pretty quickly.
The leveling thing is kind of interesting because every time she quote unquote evolves, she restarts at level 1, which is different from human characters, I guess. That was interesting, but, believable, I guess.
So If you had to give it a rating out of 10, what would you rate the series?
I'm kind of biased on the show, but all in all, if I was to be critical, I think I would give it a good 8.5 out of 10. Like, it's not
Solid.
a masterpiece, but for me, it's a very close to a masterpiece.
For me, I think I'd give it a solid 7. I'm a little bit like, I don't know, maybe it's because the show's new, but I'm hesitant to rate things super high right now because I don't know where the bar is going to get. But right now, I'm measuring everything off of how much I enjoyed Vinland Saga. And if Vinland Saga to me is my 10 out of 10, then I think I'd have to give So What a Spider a solid 7.
Oh, honestly, like, So When I'm a Spider, like, either made me cry made me laugh every episode, or the few that I didn't laugh, I was really crying. I'm a very emotional when I watch the anime. I've been watching anime since, like, ever. Like, So When I'm a Spider, personally, like, a classical would be Oran Host Club. That, for me, would be, like, a 9 out of 10. And then I just have So When I'm a Spider a little bit below. I really like the comedy.
Well, maybe I'll have to have you back to do Orin Host Club then.
Oh, I've watched it like a billion times. It has rewatchability too. That's why it's just a little bit higher.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot for coming on. Can you let everyone know a little bit about you and what you do before we go?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Crystal. I'm also Copycat on Twitch, and I am a VTuber, and I play mainly Minecraft, and I do art streams every here and there. Your local friendly mimic.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on. I've had a blast talking with you, and hopefully the episode will be out soon.
Well, thank you. No, it was a pleasure talking. I have no one to talk about this with.
Yeah, I tried to get my girlfriend to watch it with me too, and she kept falling asleep on me while we were watching it because I kept putting it on at bedtime, and eventually she's just like,
The fandom isn't too big, but
she's like,
it's
"Did you finish it?" I was like, "Yes,
totally
I
worth it.
finished it." And she's like, "Oh, how was it?" And I was like, "Well, maybe you need to watch it so we can talk about it." All right.
For sure, for sure.
Well, thanks again for coming on.
My pleasure.
Awesome.